Welcome to the MMA Fan Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Stu and Blake.
Arnold, how's it going?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm tired there. I woke up, I'm tired.
You're in Montreal, aren't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what time is it there right now?
9 in the morning.
9 a.m. So you've done a nice early one for us. Have you had breakfast yet?
Yeah, mate. I'm always up early, so yeah.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, I guess the first thing we want to ask you really is basically how did you decide and become a fighter? When did that present itself as an opportunity and as something that you wanted to do?
So like ever since I was little, me and my older brother sort of always watched the old kung fu movies, you know, the Bruce Lee stuff and all that, and even the cartoons, and like we were always practicing the moves on each other and watching wrestling and whatnot. And basically he's bigger than me and he used to beat me up. So I started going to a boxing gym and started trying to learn things so I could beat him up. And then I just sort of fell in love with it from there. I like my dad had a few fights as well. And I really thought I didn't think it was cool or anything. I thought, my dad does that. Like, I don't like that. I don't want to do that. My dad does it. But like slowly, I sort of started training more mixed martial arts. And I just sort of fell in love with it from there.
Your dad did like strongman competitions as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And as you say, he also did some MMA fights. So when you decided, I might actually look into doing this now, despite thinking it maybe wasn't so cool when you were younger because your dad did it, did you feel was there any pressure that kind of like, you know, like, it's my dad will be looking at what I'm doing with maybe a keener eye than most other dads? And is that pressure or was it nice going into what your dad did?
Not like he was always really good with it, to be honest. He never pressured me or anything, but like going through when I was a teenager and all that, like doing your partying stage and whatnot, he'd sort of come in my room in the morning and be like, "You come to the gym?" I'm like, not today. And he'd just sort of guilt trip you, you know, like, you're gonna regret it. I'm like, all right, fine, I'll come. So like he never forced me to do anything. It was never. He's always sort of let the coaches do their work, you know what I mean, and give me a little advice on the way.
That's great. So you did a lot of working out on a hangover then?
Yeah, exactly.
You wouldn't have the Paulo Costa excuse then because you're used to fighting on a hangover.
Experience. Yeah.
In regards to the boxing, like you said, you started off boxing. Did you ever sort of compete as a boxer?
Yeah, I competed in the amateurs. I didn't have many, to be honest, but I trained for a long time as an amateur. Yeah, I enjoyed it. I did like it.
And so, why was the inclination to then learn other disciplines, and was it just through the rise of this, you know, the impact of MMA on the world?
Yeah, you know what it was? I wanted to go all the way with the boxing. It was just where I was, the gym I was at. There was a lot of politics. They weren't getting fights, and I saw, you know, it just wasn't working out really. And I was pretty young at the time, and I was just like, you know, I'd rather do something with less politics, enjoy it more, and compete, you know.
You see that a lot with boxing, don't you? Where you've got these two great boxers that look like they should easily be fighting each other. And as you say, politics, the managers and people behind the scenes want to get as much money as possible. It's not something we see as much in MMA and in the UFC. It does feel like the best usually will always fight the best. I mean, there's a few exceptions, like the welterweight division at the moment does feel a lot like people are slightly avoiding each other and stuff. But generally speaking, it is the best versus the best. And does that appeal to you a lot more in terms of like a sporting challenge, like that competitive nature and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Like with boxing, it's kind of a known thing. Like if you're not backed by obviously the fighter has to do the work and win the fights and all that. But like if you're not backed by the promoter, it's very difficult to sort of get to the top. You know, there's not I think Tyson Fury sort of was one of the guys that wasn't the A side and made it to the top, you know. Like I read his book and he was always sort of the away guy. He was always sort of traveling to the events and, you know, and he sort of made it to the top. Then you have the opposite. Obviously, you have AJ Joshua. He's the promoter's boy. They've pushed him the whole way. They've given him the right fights to build himself up. And obviously, he did all the work and won the fights. But
I think
you the promotion on your side.
Absolutely, and I mean we're recording this that in the weeks after they've announced that fight is going to happen.
Yeah,
I'm curious to know, Arnold, how you think that's going to work out.
I've always thought Fury would just sort of outbox him. Fury's he's good. Man. He's good. Like he's a good boxer, and he's a big, awkward body. But not only is he big and awkward, he's a good boxer.
He moves like a middleweight. It's crazy.
Yeah. He's dancing on his toes. Like, he's fun to watch. I think he's got too much for AJ.
Yeah, I think so. I don't necessarily think it'll be an all-out war, but I think it'll be I definitely think you're going to see a masterclass from Fury as a boxer. That's how I see it going. I don't know.
I think as well, yeah.
Blake, what are you saying?
Well, look, I'm going to be lame, guys, and just say I'm just much more of an MMA guy. I don't really care about. It's weird because the combat sports. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, but it's combat is combat, and it's all. But for me, I'm like, boxing feels so one-dimensional to me. Having been into MMA for so long now, I love the fact that an MMA fight can go anywhere. It feels like a real fight. It feels like the closest you can get to a real life situation. And it's, I think when you look at because I know I've heard Stipe in an interview recently talking about oh, well, he'd love to fight AJ or Tyson Fury in a boxing match. And I'm like, well, I mean, I wouldn't say it to his face because he's the big dude, but he's not got a chance in hell against AJ or Tyson Fury in a boxing match. No. But equally, I think, well, if it's just a fight, or if any boxer comes over into the MMA world, there's even less chance of a boxer beating an MMA athlete, in my opinion, because they're so not used to so many things that could come their way, whether it be leg kicks, takedowns, the clinch work, all of those things are so. So I'm just not as fussed. I mean, I do think Tyson Fury will probably win because he'll outbox him, but I'm not. I don't care enough. Whereas I really care about MMA, which is why this is the MMA fan show. I'm not the boxing fan show, Stu. So can we please get back on track? Getting back on track though, the one thing that really fascinates me is the mentality of someone that before they go out to the octagon or the ring or whatever it is to fight someone. Because I mean, I've always shied away from confrontation. That's the last thing I would ever want. How do you find gearing up for a fight? Because I mean, we had Brad Pickett on recently as well, and he said that he had moments where he got that kind of imposter syndrome of not necessarily being confident in himself, and he'd actually look at highlight reels of himself before the fight to go, oh yeah, no, I'm good at this. I can do it. But how does it come naturally to you, or do you have moments where you're like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. So for me, like, it's always, I'm confident in like the work I've put in, and like if I haven't put the work in, then I'm shitting myself, So like say a fight camp, like generally 6 weeks or whatever. So I get the fight 6 weeks out, sign the contract. I'm looking at the guy and thinking, oh, he's good. He knocks people out. Oh, I see all the bad stuff. Yeah. But then every week of camp, every week of training that goes by, I get more confident, and like I think less of the bad stuff. I think of all the good things I'm doing, and it's just confident in the hard work I'm putting in. So I worry less about the opponent and more about myself. So I think that helps too.
Have you got a routine like before the actual walkout itself? When you in the dressing room, like have you got a sort of a routine, or headphones on, music on, pacing around, shadow boxing? Like what's the sort of last moments before we actually see you come out into the arena?
No, I don't really have a routine, to be honest. I talk a bit more than I usually do. I get a bit like you're like an excited kid. You sort of waffle on. You just sort of talk crap a little bit. But I feel like a kid at Christmas. I'm excited. Like I can't wait. I've seen all sorts. I've seen people. They're like in the back room screaming, slapping themselves. There's the other guys sleeping, and there's other people in the mirror in the bathroom like talking to themselves, hyping themselves up. I've seen all sorts. But I'm pretty calm.
The concept of someone having a sleep before that, that's insane.
I see these one guys, this is way before the UFC, I think I was amateur then. They just had, I think they're Polish guys, they all had a KFC bargain bucket before the fight. They were just sat in the back room. They were just sharing a big KFC bucket. And I was like, what is going on, man? And like, you know, you're nervous, like all your senses are like heightened, your smell, like I was smelling the KFC, and I love KFC as well. And it just made me feel sick. I'm warming up, thinking, what is going on in this changing room? These guys had a KFC bargain bucket in the corner. I'm like, okay, he's about to fight in 10 minutes.
And so, from them early days as well, when did these early amateur fights then start to kind of make you think, oh, hang on a minute, this could be a career? Like, or was it always something that you wanted to do? Or was there anything else that was, you know, on the career path? Did you have goals growing up that you wanted to be this, that? Or was it always, I'm going to be a fighter?
Yeah, to be honest, like not even to be cliche, it was always this. Like this, I got kicked out of school when I was 15. I think it was our last year, and my dad was. So I was training at that time anyway. I was boxing. My dad's like, "Well, you're not staying at home all day. Like whatever you do, I'll support you, but you have to work hard." So I was like, "Okay, well, I enjoy fighting, so I'm gonna put everything into that basket, and I'm gonna go for it." So yeah.
Were you kicked out of school for fighting? Was it like...
just being annoying, really? I think I was
just being annoying.
Yeah.
I was annoying for my whole school career. I didn't get kicked out though. I was lucky.
I just think they didn't like me. So yeah, well, it's what it is. Yeah, I didn't do anything bad. I was just like consistently annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I was like, all right, okay, well, I'm gonna go for this then.
And so when did, you know, it become go more from a potential idea to then finding yourself in like, it was Cage Warriors you fought in, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like, was that when, you know, for want of a better description, shit started to get real and you thought, right, this is time to really focus now. This is where, you know, I've got a real chance to do something within this industry.
Yeah. So I kind of like, well, I did. I gave myself like a timeline, like a gap, I went professional 18. It was like, yeah, I was turned 18. So I was like, right, I want to be in the UFC at 21 because I was working jobs. I was making no money, all this, like everything I had was going on training. And I was like, I want to be in the UFC and actually making some money by 21. If not, I have to sort of get a bit of a job and this has to become more of a hobby. And fortunately for me, I signed with the UFC when I was 21. So it worked out. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you're on a 7-fight win streak in the UFC, and the featherweight division is a really great division. I mean, like there's loads of great divisions in the UFC, but the featherweight division is one of their kind of premier divisions, I would say. How much does it bother you when you're on a 7-fight win streak, but there's been portions of your career over the last few years where you've been inactive, and a lot of it, like, not necessarily down to, I mean, obviously sometimes it might be an injury, sometimes it's an injury to an opponent. Like, how difficult is it when you're desperate to fight and prove yourself and do it, and the phone's not ringing, or you can't fight because of an injury or something like that? How do you get through those moments?
It's very frustrating, to be honest, but like before the UFC, I was always one of the guys. I wanted to be active. I wanted to be fighting. I'm always in the gym. Even if I'm fighting once a year, I'm training every day. So it's like, I'm not one of the guys that's there's a lot of people, they'll only train hard when there's a fight booked. It's really weird. Like they take a fight to get into shape. It's strange. Like they don't want to improve. They just sort of like, all right, well, the fight's booked, I'll train now. So I'm not one of those people. I'm always in the gym. Like every day I'm in the gym training. So it's so frustrating. But the one thing, it's kind of been a blessing in a way, because when I signed when I was 21, I was maybe like not ready for the level sort of that I'm at. So it was kind of like forced me to get better in time, and like took those breaks, and I improved. Like I was forced to improve, you know, and I sort of caught up to the level where I want to be. And now I feel I'm at that level where I can fight these guys and get active, and I'm ready to go.
And I mean, you're speaking of like improving, you made the move to TriStar a while back as well. What prompted that move? What made you go, that's right? Because I mean, there's some absolute legend. I mean, you got, for us, Ahabi is obviously, he's the head coach there, right? I think, and then also, you know, he's brought along people like GSP, Rory McDonald. And one of my favorite fighters, does Ryan Hall train out there sometimes as well?
Yeah, he comes to that. Ryan Hall.
Yeah. I'd say I love Ryan Hall. He's someone that never fight. I want to see him fight all the time, and he never fights. But like, so you've got like guys that are legends there. You've also got people that are huge specialists in certain fields. Like obviously Ryan Hall, particularly with like the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. What was it that prompted that move, and how do you feel you've come on since making that move?
So like the main thing, so like I said before, like training and sort of living everything going on the training. So as soon as I won my UFC debut, like I always wanted to go to like one of the big gyms, like one of the sort of hallmark gyms around.
Yeah.
The first sort of place I knew a couple of guys. It was Joe Duffy and Tom Breeds were out here. I was like, oh well, I know a couple of guys there, so I'll go see what it's like, do a month there, and maybe try another gym after. It was the first place I came to, and I just really liked it, to be honest. Like, all the training was good, the coaching was good, all the teammates, the way they train, everything was great. So I never went anywhere else.
And I mean, some of the names that you just mentioned, some of the names that Blake mentioned, and like we touched on Brad Pickett, feeling with that feeling of imposter syndrome sometimes. Do you ever get that when you walk into this legendary gym and there's all of these iconic fighters there, and do you ever think, shit, like I'm here, like I'm not for a moment saying you haven't warranted that, but do you ever get them kind of like strange feelings of like, wow, this is crackers?
Not anymore, but like when I first came here, definitely. Like I remember the first time I was sparring with GSP, I was like,
just throw that in there.
So I think this is before. It was a bit before he was making his comeback to fight Bisbee, so he wasn't really training, but he was kind of like pondering whether he was going to come back. Like, oh, you do some rounds with like some lighter guys. So Frad's like, George, go Arnold. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, cool. And then I just remember I was like punching like inches short of his face. I was like, I can't punch GSP. I'm not allowed to hit GSP. Like, who am I? I'm not allowed to try and punch him. And so I was like shadowboxing in front of him, like trying not to hit him. Like, he's one of the best ever. Like, I can't touch this guy. It was. But then he cracked me with a right hand, and I was like, oh, I have to do something here. But he's great. George's great.
Oh, wonderful. And so one of the other things that we like to talk to fighters about is weight cutting, and is that something that I'm sure it's not particularly easy for any fighter, but is that something that you've got better at, or have you always been pretty on point with your weight cuts? Like, how does it work for you?
So like I said, I've been fighting professionally since I was 18, and when I was 18 I made my debut. I fought at 135, so I fought at bantamweight, and that was pretty tough even then. Like, I was a bit smaller then than I am now, but every other fight has been at 145, and it's kind of like, in a weird way, like, I've got bigger, but it's got easier because I've got more discipline than when I was 19, 20. And I used to be like fight week, I'd be like, oh yeah, I'll have a bit of this, a bit of Chinese, oh yeah, I could eat that. And then I'd turn up and just jump in the sauna and expect it all to fall off. But no, I'm definitely, I cheat every weekend. Every Saturday I'll eat whatever I want. I'll do my sparring and then get the pizzas in. But it's just like not stressing about it helps, like if I'm stressing about it, worried about it, weighing everything I eat, it doesn't help. Like, the weight doesn't come off. But if you relax a little bit and ease up, it seems to come off.
You seem to be a very relaxed kind of personality, full stop. Is that something, how do you, when that first buzzer goes for that first round, is the adrenaline and the nerves just in override, or is that something that you've also got quite a hold on? Like, do you bring that kind of calmness, into the fight?
Yeah, definitely. There's like, the way I see it, it's a sport, isn't it? Like football, like as soon as the whistle goes, like, I'm trying to score goals, I'm trying to get the ball and make the passes. So it's that, like, I'm not thinking, like, the adrenaline's not going over my head, and I'm not like flustered with red, all this. Just I'm thinking, score the points, land the shots, avoid, move, thinking technique. And with the adrenaline, it just makes everything react faster. You punch harder, like everything happens better.
And like, I wanted to talk to you about the ranking system because you're, as I said, you're on a 7-fight win streak, and I mean, in some ways this is a compliment, but it's also like a lot of people might see it as not a negative. But what I'm trying to say is, like, I look at Leon Edwards and I think you're on like a 9-fight win streak, but he's in that category that I think you've even mentioned yourself in previous interviews of being kind of a high risk fight for people in front of you in the rankings, but you don't quite yet have that huge name value that some people have for whatever reason. And so you look at the rankings and you go, well, I'm on a 7-fight win streak here. Why aren't I further up the rank? Or do you not pay attention to the rankings? Like how, and also you're fighting a guy like Sadiq Youssef on April 10th, who's, I think he's only 1 place below you at the moment. But you're fighting a guy below you in the rankings. So do you then have this thing with like either Mick Maynard or Sean Shelby or even Dana, where you're like, yeah, I'll take the guy below me, but I'm on a 7-fight win streak. So after that, I should be getting someone in the top 5. But do you ever have those discussions, or is it just line them up and I'll do what I'm told type thing?
Yeah. Like obviously I was supposed to fight. Well, last year I was supposed to fight Josh Emmett, who was ranked. I think he was ranked 8th. I think. Then I was supposed to fight Jeremy Stevens at the time, November, and he was ranked 9th. And then, so like those are the sort of fights you want in my position, like, but for them, it's high risk and it's make or break for them, isn't it? Like if the young prospect coming through beats you, it's like, where do you go from there? But no, like the conversation isn't had. Obviously, we sort of put out there, that's what we want. You've put us ranked number 10. Like, surely we want something top 10, like we want to advance. But the way I look at it with the Sadiq fight, like he's highly touted, he's a hot prospect, it's a more difficult challenge than the guys in the top 10. I think, like a lot of the guys. And I think a win over someone like this will do more for my career than a Jeremy Stevens, for example. He's a bigger name, but he's how it happened when I beat Melendez. I beat Gilbert Melendez. Wasn't like in the rankings, but everyone's like, oh yeah, but Gilbert Melendez has had his best day. He's sort of past it now. Which I think with a win over someone like Stevens, it would be probably the same thing. Like I beat someone like him, and it's like, oh well, that's not the best Stevens, and
he's on the way down and all that kind of stuff.
So there's like the fights actually outside of the rankings. The young guys like myself, like coming up and trying to get to that position, are tougher than the guys established in the rankings. Not all of them, obviously, but there's a lot of guys in that top 10, top 15 that are like, they've had their heyday. They're sort of on their cliff edge now, and they're going down. So they're easier fights than the guys behind.
So is it fair to say that you see it as like it's about making a statement, and to the people that know what they're talking about, beating the someone that may be ranked below you but is seen as a really big prospect, that's more of a statement than beating someone maybe ranked 6th or 7th who maybe has lost 1 or 2 recently.
Exactly. That's what I think anyway. Because even weirdly, so when they announced the fight, I sometimes read the comments and whatnot, and people were sending me messages like, oh, it's a shame, like you deserve the top 10 and like you deserve the top whatever. I'm like, this guy's a tougher test than those guys, like this is my top 10, like this is the guy that's going to put me there. Like with a win, this proves like I deserve to be like ahead of those big boys with a win over this guy. So this is a better challenge, a bigger challenge, and a better reward, I feel.
Does it ever frustrate you then when you see like that there are people for whatever reason, whether it be like a Conor McGregor previously or like a Sean O'Malley recently, that the company seems to get behind them, they have something that make people really push them, and then you see people like yourself or Leon Edwards who are just taking everyone out that's put in front of them. But it seems like there's just certain people where like you're gonna have to go on like a 10-fight streak before they give you any kind of title opportunity or a number 1 contender fight or something like that. Is that really frustrating to see, or is it just part of the game?
I just think it's part of the game, and some people are just marketable, and at the end of the day, it is entertainment. And if it wasn't for that, like, we wouldn't have this whole industry where people like me are sort of making a living fighting people, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it is entertainment, and then people want to watch them, and people enjoy them for whatever reason, you know, like they're funny characters. I get it.
Yeah.
It's like wrestling, but we really fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's that kind of, trash talking and, going on socials and calling fighters out. Is that just never been something that you're about?
Yeah, I'm not good at it, to be honest. I don't know myself look at it. I would if I was good at it, but yeah, I don't know, just getting buoyed off. Right? I just have to shut up. Yeah.
But you have got such a market. I mean, I remember hearing you interviewed back on the MMA Hour days with Ariel, and I think you were talking about maybe like having like you'd only had like 15 quid in the bank, but then you also like having jokes about your dad and with your dad and all that. And I was like, to be honest, it was like a 20-minute interview, and I had immediately went, I really like this guy. I really want to watch him fight. He seems like a nice, fun bloke.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't. It's some people. I don't know what it is. Being a nice, good guy just isn't enough for everyone, is it? But for me, I love that. That's just what I want to see.
Yeah, my favorite. I've seen some comments where people say, "Arnold's a great fighter, but I don't know what it is. I just really don't like him." I can't see them comments.
There's nothing unlikable about you, though. I just don't get it. It's such a nice bloke.
What did someone say? Arnold Allen seems really cool, but his relationship with his dad is weird. I'm just like, cheers. I'm like, thanks for that. I'm like, nice one.
They're probably the same people that go, oh, I love Wonder Boy's relationship with his dad.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, I used to see stuff like that and I'd be like, well, what's this guy's problem? And now I'm like, that's funny, to be fair. Like, where's he get this from? But yeah. Do
you ever sort of get involved in back and forth with people on social media when people are trolling you and talking shit?
Yeah, not really. Like, sometimes people say something, I just reply with something like, thank you. Someone will call me and cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks.
Kill him with kindness, mate. Kill him with kindness.
Cheers, buddy. Thanks. Yeah.
So back to the Sadiq Youssef fight. One of the other things I noticed was that I think both he and you, your last fights were January of 2020, maybe, I think. But both of you fought then. Now, you've had other periods in your career where you've been inactive for a year or something like that. From when I looked at his record, he hasn't really had that. Is there any way that could play any kind of part in the fight? The fact that he's not used to being out for so long, or do you just think the whole ring rust thing is nonsense? Like, what's your theories on the ring rust thing, but also on how it can affect him and yourself during the fight?
Yeah. I mean, I guess if your whole career you've been active and like that's what like, then yeah, for sure it can affect you. But like, I've had ups and downs and injuries and had to time out whatever and got used to it. But again, like I said earlier, like all year, regardless what's happening, I've been in the gym sparring with one hand because I've fractured this hand. So I'm like, all right, but I'm gonna come in the gym and work on my jab. I'm gonna spar the big boys, but I'm not gonna throw backhands. So I'm always in the gym, always trying to improve, and I think that's where the ring rust comes from, not the fight, not the not fighting. Because like was it McGregor said the inactivity was his flaw with the Poirier fight? I don't think it was the inactivity in his competition schedule. I think it was his training schedule. I think he's obviously a millionaire and he's living the high life and whatnot. So if there's no fight on the horizon, he's probably not grafting away in the gym. He's doing what millionaires do and being on a yacht and stuff.
So do you take that back to what you said earlier about, even if you've only got one fight that year, you're training every day, not just like, right, I've got a fight, I've got 6 weeks, now I'm going to start training.
Exactly.
Do you think it's that kind of inactivity that can cause the rust?
Yeah, I think that's the inactivity that causes the ring rust, like the being away from the lifestyle, getting comfortable, you're out, you're not training, you're not on a schedule. But obviously there's the other one where you could be sort of overtraining all year round and then causing injuries and whatnot. But yeah, I think the 6 weeks or the short, intense training will do more damage than like training all year round and sort of keeping your body ready,
And speaking of injuries and stuff, we've in recent events, we've seen some sort of illegal knees that have caused some issues and some eye pokes and stuff. And we asked Paddy Pimblett this the other day, and I just wonder when, because obviously Khabib said he heard the corner saying throw the knee, and I just wondered, like, in the furore of a big UFC event, let's say pre-COVID, and they're saying that they heard his corner say that. Have you got voices you can pick at in an arena that's going crackers? And like, obviously you've got your corner. Can you hear what they're saying? And are you, when you're fighting, are you listening to your corner, or are you caught up in what's exactly in front of you? Are you listening to your own thoughts? Like, I'm just trying to get a kind of fighter's kind of perspective of that moment.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, for me, I don't know how it is for everyone else, but I feel like it's tunnel vision. You know, it's like, it's as if your coaches have got like an earpiece. You know, I'm just focused on the opponent. I'm doing things. I'm acting on instinct. You know, everything's reacting, and then I can hear like little things chiming in. You know, as if it's like I can hear screaming and all this and that. But then I hear like Faraz, he'll give instruction like, "Oh, do this or don't do that." You know, and it just comes through perfect. I think you just get used to that familiar voice, obviously through sparring and everything. We're at the gym and, you know, I'm sparring and he'll give me little advice, and yeah, you just sort of get used to that voice and you pick it out from the crowd.
Is it easy to listen to that in the corner as well between rounds? We had Thomas Turgoose, I don't know if you know, from This Is England the other week on the show, and he was, I think he made a joke of like, if I sat down after a round, I'd be like, stop fucking talking to me. I'm knackered. Like, what? How? I mean, obviously you guys are not Thomas Turgoose. You're elite athletes. Sorry, Tomo, but you know, how much, when they're talking to you between rounds, can you shut off your own kind of like inner monologue or thoughts and really take in what Faraz or other people are saying?
Yeah. Well, like I really can just switch off and sort of listen and take in the advice from my corner. And, you know, my corner is, they're really good at understanding what each fighter needs. Some guys, they're going to come back after a bad round and they need to be, you know, yelled at, like, let's go, come on, like, you're losing. And for me, that doesn't do anything. So they just talk to me and they tell me honestly what I need. And, you know, I've come back and I've lost rounds and like, yeah, I think we lost that round. You know, you need to come back and make these adjustments. And I like that. It works for me. But then sometimes if people are screaming and I'm just like, okay, whatever. Yeah, it's easier when they just sort of relax and sort of tell you what's going on, tell you what you need to do. It's easy to take in the advice like that.
One of the other things that has presented itself both times that we've spoke to fighters is when we was talking about knees and things like that, is both fighters that we spoke to were quite happy for there to be soccer kicks and things like that, that some of the things that are not obviously allowed in the UFC. What's your thoughts on things like that?
Yeah, no, I think no. I think no soccer kicks for me. But like, just because you want it to be a sport, you want it to be as big as possible, and like, it just doesn't. It's not going to appeal to people. You know what I mean? Like, it's already such a niche when like for people outside of like the combat sport world.
Absolutely.
I mean, then you go to the bar and you see on the screen there's some guy getting stoved in on the floor with soccer kicks. You know, if you're someone that's kind of on the cusp of sort of liking the martial arts, that'll probably turn you off completely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And in regards to you and this calmness that is just coming through this screen, have you found that, you know, over like the duration of your career, from, you know, for an amateur fighter then fighting onto bigger stages like, you know, Cage Warriors, to now fighting on the, you know, the biggest platform there is, like, do you ever get like, you know, overcome with like, holy shit, like I'm walking out now, this is the UFC, this is where, you know, I've trained my whole life to be, I'm here now, listen to that crowd, like, you know, is that something that ever kind of, you know, gets a bit too much and just think, shit?
No, it's like I've always, always sort of like mentally planned ahead. I've like written down my goals and, you know, all the things I want to do, and I know the expectations and the things I want of myself. So like when for me, like a big moment, I fought in John Jones's undercard when he fought Santos, when he fought Thiago Santos, and that was International Fight Week. It was like the biggest card of the year. It was my first in Vegas and like full crowd and all this. And I was thinking like, oh, what if I have that sort of feeling? You know, obviously fighting Gilbert Melendez, he's a legend. And no, I just sort of like walked out and I'm like, yeah, this is what I work for. Like this is why I work hard. This is it.
That's it. You belong there though. You've put in all that work. As you say, you're on a great win streak. You've definitely proven that you belong where you are in that top 10 of the featherweight division. You know?
Yeah, to be fair, if I didn't put in the hard work and I was walking out in front of all those people, I'd probably be shitting it a little bit. But what am I doing here? Yeah.
But you've also said that you write your plan down. You know what you're going to sort of put yourself into. How far ahead is that plan, and what is your plan looking ahead now, Arnold?
Well, from the start, I've always wanted to be a world champion. You know, I'm a big believer. Like, what's the point of doing anything unless you're going all in for it? You know, like there's no point half-assing and sort of being satisfied with being number 10. So obviously, everyone gets into the sport and wants to be the best, right? So I've come too far to not keep pushing for that. You know, so that's the plan.
And you're still such a young. I mean, you're 27 now, right?
Yeah.
You're 27. You're training with GSP, taking some right hands from a legend, as you said earlier. And you still. There's a lot of improvement. You're still a few years off your fighting prime, really, as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and you're already in the top 10 of featherweight division. So it just seems to me, looking from the outside, that the future's so bright for you. You are one of the top prospects, not just British prospects, but I think top young prospects in the UFC. And it's just so exciting to watch you fight. And the only downside is we want to see more of you. So our fingers crossed, we can get less obviously for yourself injuries, but also for the opponents. I mean, I know you mentioned Emmett and Stevens. I think that was the injuries from them that unfortunately led to those fights not happening. So we want to see a lot more of you, mate.
So that's the plan as well. Get busy. I've got to get busy.
Get busy.
Yeah.
What do you think of the featherweight division at the moment? Because obviously we've had a bad luck recently with this Saturday. Volkanovski's caught COVID. So the title fight is going to be delayed. I don't know till when, but it's probably going to be a couple of months, I'd imagine. Holloway seems like he's waiting in the wings for whoever wins that. I mean, it's very unusual for a fighter to have a trilogy when they're 2-0 down, but his performance against Cater was so good.
That you can't deny him, can you?
You can't deny him. So the title is taken up for a bit, and then you've got people like Zabit and Yair that are like, I think maybe like third and fourth. And Zabit's been very inactive recently. Like,
how long? Maybe 2 years?
I don't know. It feels like a long time because obviously he had
longer
such
than me. I know that.
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. And there's such a buzz around Zabit. Like, where do you see the featherweight division going? And how do you have like a pathway of kind of like, right, well, after you beat Sadiq, you're looking to go to this person, or that this is a good matchup for you, or anything like that, or do you just see, again, do you just think it's none of your concern? You seem like such a chilled out guy. You seem like someone that's just going to be like, whatever they put in front of me, that's kind of what I'll do.
That's literally been my whole sort of thing. My whole career is like, whatever happens, they give me this guy. If I have to wait, I have to wait. But again, I don't want to wait. So there's definitely a plan, like with a win here, granted with a win here. Like I want to go up and I want to fight one of these guys in the top 10, obviously. But I'll have to get the win first. But it's the featherweight division is an interesting one, isn't there? There's a lot of guys in that top 15, top 10. There's your proven guys that have sort of been there, like obviously Holloway's. There's no one more proven than him. And then you have guys like Zabit, he's in the top, so much hype around him. But like he still hasn't, he's got some good wins, but like there's still a lot of question marks around him, there's still a lot of people, is he in that elite,
Particularly in like a 5-round fight as well, because I think I think if memory serves, I've not seen him do a 5-round fight. And I think when he fought Cater, it felt like, and there was someone else as well he fought prior to that, where it got to that third round and he'd been winning really confidently.
Yeah.
But then the Cater fight felt like if that was a 5-rounder, it was 2-1 going into the fourth. And who knows what would have happened there, you know? So
yeah, it's an interesting division. It's there's a lot of guys coming through, and there's like the guys in the top sort of 5 are trying to hold their top 5 position and sort of only want to fight each other. And yeah, it's an interesting one.
Also, one of the things when you go into the octagon, just to sort of talk about the financial elements of this sport as well. Is them win bonuses and things like that, and performance of the night and things like that, are they ever in your head when that buzzer goes?
No. I'm never thinking of that stuff. Like when it goes, I'm just thinking of the fight and getting the win. You know.
Yeah.
It's a weird one. It's a weird system, like win bonus. I think the idea with it was to make more exciting fights. I guess they think people, you know, if you're getting half your money or like you get the extra half of your money to win, people are going to come and try and win more. You know, they're going to fight crazier. But I think actually what it does is make people fight a little safer and a bit more secure. You know, but regardless of whatever happens, like as soon as the buzzer goes, you're getting paid £1 or £1 million. Like you're going to fight. There's a man in front of you trying to take your head off. You know, so, you know, you're going to fight the same.
Absolutely. Well, Arnold, thank you so much for your time today, man. We really appreciate, you know, giving up time, you know, this close to a scrap. If listeners want to keep up to speed on what you're doing, where's the best place to follow you, Arnold?
Well, I'm on Instagram, Twitter. Everything is Arnold BFA. So it used to stand for Babyface Assassin, but now it's just, it's not even my nickname, so it's just my Instagram handle.
Well, we'll tag you in it all. Go on, sorry, mate.
I wonder if you might want to be changing your nickname to Karina, because it's been at the bottom left of the screen ever since you started. I'm assuming that either that's like your girlfriend or your drag name. I'm not sure which one that is.
I'm using my missus' laptop. I didn't realize I put her name on it. Oh, man.
Arnold, thank you so much, man, and best of luck.
Thanks, man.
All the best, mate. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.